Hey guys, how's it going? This is Jeff. Today I'm going to talk about the rate hike on student loan debt and just student loans in general, kind of the general consensus and a little bit of my opinion about it. So, as you know, President Donald Trump is under siege. I mean, he's being attacked left and right, mostly because he likes to go out there and I guess kick up dust big time. I mean, he did run on the campaign promise that he was going to drain the swamp, and it appears to be that that swamp is not going to drain as easy as he thought, or he anticipated this swamp was going to drain with this much challenges. But he's under siege, and this most recent story that we're addressing here: rates on federal student loans are going up. What you need to know, and it's being blamed on Trump. Along with, a whole bunch of other things. He just needs to stay off Twitter, probably. I respect the position. I respected Obama. I respect Donald Trump. I respect George Bush, Bill Clinton, and I was a young guy when Clinton was in office. But I respect the presidency of the United States. And, who's elected by the democratic process. Even if it was Hillary, I would have respected the office and the decisions that she made, even if I agree or do not agree with Donald or with Hillary. But in this case, Donald Trump is president, so I'm going to follow protocol here and, respect the presidency and the office. Under this office administration, so they've decided to raise student loans. Here it goes. Rates for new loans to undergraduates will be 4.45, up from 3.76%. Rates on direct unsubsidized loans for graduate students will be 6%, up from 5.31%. Rates on plus loans for parents and graduate students will be 7.7%, up from 6.31%. So the masses are seeing this stuff on social media, and the media, they have this very special knack to tell just enough of the truth to get you really pissed off without telling you oh, by the way, it's not as bad as we're making it out to be. And in this case, I actually found this story by watching it's called AJ News, AJ. They're on Facebook. They made this big, they had this video get like 7 million views. And if you read in the comments, everyone with student loan debt's panicking, saying, forget Trump, F Trump, this and that. And I'm like, man, he's going to drill the hammer on these guys that got all this debt. I got student loan debt myself from when I was going to college. So it caught my eye, of course. And I've been on the side of the coin where I'm like, well, what if you can't find a job that pays it back? I mean, this and that. But so I'm sitting there, I'm reading these comments, and I'm saying, wow, I talk like that too. And then I'm like, noticing these kids, it seems like most of them just want to get their debt forgiven. That's the way they talk. They're like, yeah, I got this and that kind of debt, I can't get it, and I'm like, I think what they really want is all their debt forgiven. Okay, whatever. I know under the last administration there was some debt forgiveness that did take place, and some people might have fallen into that habit. But of expecting, to accumulate a debt, and then if it gets too hairy, they just walk away from it. But when I looked at this story in detail, it's not the people that have the debt already, at least the way that this Forbes.com article is presenting it. So the way AJ presented it was, oh no, all student loan debt's going up, interest rates are going up. But from what I've understood by reading this Forbes article is it's locked in. It's locked. So whatever you took it out at it, you're locked. It's not going up for you. If you went to school 2 years ago, whatever you had then, it's going to stay the same. It's for the people who are trying to go back to school. So in my mind, if this Forbes article, the way that I read it and the way that it appears is that they're saying like, well, maybe not everyone needs to go to college. It's kind of what it looks like. I mean, they're making college more expensive. not necessarily a good thing for all the people who should be going to college, right? So all the ones who are, engineers or mathematicians or computer scientists or what have you, medical students, you know, they're all of a sudden going to be lumped in there, and you might have a legitimate grievance with the president on that. But if you've already got loans, you're locked in there, at least according to Forbes here. Now, if I read these comments by these people here in this comment section, this AJ, I consider this AJ, I don't know what they're called, AJ plus. They're sensational news. They prey on sensationalism. I've worked in the media for quite a long time. Not quite a long time. Maybe 5 years, 4 or 5 years. Yeah, 5 years. So I know in the media, especially when I first started out, I discovered early on that sensationalism is what sells. Sex sells, whatever. Yeah. So provocative news stories are what sell, meaning that's what gets people's attention and clicks, right? If they just kept it very blase and went casual news, who's going to really tune in, because everything's hunky-dory? So there's always got to be something to talk about. And I've noticed with this AJ Plus, they take advantage of people's, naivete, is that the word? Naivete. They do. And I can see it. And it's a shame to watch so many people line up in droves to eat it off the ground. I mean, whatever, they've got people in like this vortex. It's like a matrix. They like suck them in. They're like, oh yeah, we'll suck them right in. And no one's calling them out saying, oh, you guys are just drumming up chaos or animosity towards people. But I wonder why no one really has that much keen sense to see that that's what they're doing, especially when they're reporting a third of the story. But I think what happens is people take it on the internet as gospel truth. They just run with it, and they say, I saw it on the internet, and that becomes their opinion about it, and it lives inside them, even if it's 1/3 the story, and just 1/3 of the story that's been packaged to them. And then this creates an ignorance, because they thought they knew the whole story, but then it come to find out they're actually it's like the blind leading the blind to slaughter. It's like, if you listen to too much of these guys, you might end up lost. Not saying to listen to me, I'm just saying that be more of a truth seeker. Don't just take everything you see on the internet as the truth. And what's that saying? Believe none of what you hear and half of what you see. I mean, is that the saying? I don't know. But in the case of the student loans, if I just read these comments, let's see here. Not everyone can be an engineer, both because of specific aptitudes and demand in the field. Our country will literally collapse if we have skills in certain high-paying jobs that there won't be enough jobs for those trained and necessary. Lower-paying industries will struggle to provide services cost-effectively without necessary workforce. Should have read these comments. I did read them, but this one I just read off the cuff. And many people in high-paying fields are still struggling. An attorney out of work doesn't need your disingenuous argument of try a higher-paying profession if you want to pay off your student loans. That is not the cause of our problems. The student loan crisis is directly related to unsustainable raise in college prices. So her case was that college is, more expensive than it's ever been. Don't go to college, then you won't have student loan debt. She's making a mockery of that. Don't go to college, then you'll be stuck in a low-paying job until you either get fired, get quit, or get laid off, like my mother at the age of 62, or retire if you're lucky, or collect welfare, SSI, so then people can tell you how lazy you are and that you need to get yourself an education. This is America, folks. Damned if you do and damned if you don't. I'm a Gen Xer and I feel bad for millennials. My generation didn't have a cakewalk, but you guys really are getting the worst end of Yeah, actually, I've actually echoed this same sentiment about, I think I'm a Gen Xer, I'm 34, so when it comes to the discussion about millennials, I do feel as though it's tough to be a 22-year-old today. Now, I remember when I was, 22, it seemed like it was tough then too. And I definitely had to become resilient and do what I had to do, like become thrifty. I guess you could say be a hustler. I mean, you have to hustle. What I mean by that is it's like if it's not working there, you got to be able to move over here, and you got to move fast. You got to fail fast forward, right? You can't just sit on your hands. But I don't want to make an excuse for millennials to where they stop trying, but I do think that there is a logjam that's kind of in there now, and it's kind of holding up progress for the millennial, that 22-year-old generation that seems to now be more and more living at home with the parents still later. And if I really take a look at it, so obviously I'm a Gen Xer saying I don't think it's as easy, or I don't think it's as I don't think the economy is as favorable for them as it once was, but I still think it is favorable in certain ways. I think it's all gonna pan out, but I do see a difference in the way that the 22-year-old has it now compared to the way it was, and I wanna try to figure it out. And when I do, it seems like there's a lot of really rich people out there that sit on money. I know rich people, they got power. Probably don't want to hear it, but it seems like a lot of really rich people like to tie their money up in like accounts, offshore bank accounts, and spin it. What I mean by that is spin it, and like they just spin it and play in money markets. And that money never actually touches the society, which means that even if they do a stimulus or create money and this and that, the money's just tied up in a market. So it never actually trickles down, like trickle down economics. And I think that there's a lot of spin doctors out there. And one of the spin doctors, whatever, I don't know why I said that, but one of the things that was brought up was people playing with that money. It should trickle down to the masses, and that's just the way it is. And so that might be one reason why these college kids are not getting adequate paying jobs. I think they do have a legitimate argument, but I think also it's not going to be just as easy as just saying, here's a debt forgiveness ticket. You went to college. It didn't work out, so we're going to let you off the hook. I don't think it's going to be happening like that. But I think they do have a legitimate grievance when they are told that going to college is going to, the interest rates are going to go up, because then, it is kind of a predatory lending situation that could create a bubble. This is probably going to end up being a bubble. The education, unless the economy picks up, where some of that money that's tied up starts funneling into people's hands down in the lower levels, it's probably going to be a bubble at some point in time. The debt crisis with the student loans is going to be our next bubble, in my opinion. Not that I know much about bubbles, but anyway, share your thoughts on student loans, student loan debt, the interest rates hike. Try to keep it cool, keep it intellectual, don't get out of hand and start, creating arguments. If you speak logically and think ahead of, your comments, the comments will come out smooth, create a logical and intellectual debate to the best of our ability, and get people thinking and talking. And through that, we can get some real results. But, acting on too much emotion isn't going to get us very far. Thanks.